Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's October 27th, 2020. Sorry I haven't posted a video in a while. I hope to get better soon and try to catch up on things here so I can share with you some of the things that we're experiencing and some of the things that have been going on around here. But today's video is another video on investing. And last time I think I spoke about some of the technologies that I'm personally interested in, some of those ones that are disruptive technologies, meaning that the companies or the corporations that are integrating these technologies are going to disrupt the various industries that are certainly well established. And that's something to be aware of for all of us. Today what I want to talk about is several questions that the author Peter Thiel has written about in a book titled 0 to 1. And I'll put a link to the Amazon bookstore. So if you're interested in reading this book, 0 to 1, I think it's a very valuable book. Do I agree with many of the things that Peter Thiel has done with his investments in his life and some of his political beliefs, all of those sorts of things? No, I don't. But I think this book is really good for entrepreneurs, people who want to start up their own business, and also for those people trying to help get some clarity with respect to how to weed out those potential companies that can have a 10x development, grow tenfold in a relatively short period of time. And as I've shared before, that's the sort of investments that I'm interested in. So I just want to review one more thing. I'm not a trader. Traders need leverage. Leverage is large amounts of money to be able to buy into a stock at some point in time during the daytime, and maybe later on that very day, maybe even just a few minutes later when the stock moves a small amount, sell that stock. So you buy low and sell high, as everyone says. But if you've got lots and lots of money to buy in at that point and you're leveraged, then you can go ahead and make a fair amount of money regularly. For me, that's a little too much like gambling, and it's not an investment strategy. That's a trading strategy. Nothing against those people who do trading. That's fine. My technique is to find the company that I believe has a clear advantage for getting at least a 5x to a 10x growth over a 5 to 10 year period. And there's very, very few companies like that. But this is a time where with all of these innovative technologies and appropriate companies that are integrating these technologies, well, there's a chance that we can pick those out. Another thing is that I want to share with you, I'm not a believer in a diversified portfolio the way that financial advisors do things. So for me, I don't want to take my money and put it into several different categories and have one big winner and a couple small losers and that sort of thing. I just want to do due diligence. In other words, work my tail off, spending sometimes a couple of years before I make the investment doing the research on the company, and that means missing out on some of those big gains that could have been, but they were too risky at an early point in the development. But later on, I decided to buy into those companies, and I'll share those some of those experiences in those companies with you as time goes on. But so that's my approach. And so in this book, 0 to 1 by Peter Thiel, he talks about seven questions, and I wrote a couple of notes down about these questions. And I absolutely think that these are great questions. And what I'll do is I'll go back to these questions when we talk about various companies. And right now, to let you know, I'm big into Tesla. That isn't advice for you to invest in Tesla. I think everyone needs to assess their own circumstances And as I talked about, also assess your own emotional state, how well you're able to handle the peaks and valleys with the volatility of the stock market, because it's all emotion driven and it's very short term focused. So those people invested in the stock market, lots and lots of traders there, and lots of people investing without doing a lot of research on the companies first. And as I've mentioned before, I'm an investor. In other words, I don't buy stock, I buy the company. I want a share of the company, and I want to hold that company for a prolonged period of time until I see them make the amount of growth that I think they're capable of doing. So what are those several questions that Peter Thiel talks about? Well, one of them is design and engineering question. Can the company create breakthrough technologies instead of making incremental improvements? And I'll give an example with Tesla and the standard, the legacy automotive manufacturers as well. But that's something. We want to find a company that has the innovative technologies. They're integrating these innovative technologies that gives them a clear advantage in the future. And how powerful is the engineering and design team that's there? So you really need to find out, find every bit of information about the CEO, the engineers for the corporation, whatever their titles are for the different positions and all. Find out what what the CEO, how much money does the CEO, how are they compensated? I even want to look at how they dress. So the technology corporations, I don't want to see a tech company all dressed up in suits and ties and being a salesperson sort of presentation. I want to see people more like the Steve Jobs sort of personality, or the Elon Musk personality, or the engineers that we see in some of the companies I'll be talking about. I want to have people who have the background of being successful, not just the educational background, but the background of being successful and being innovative, and that innovation and hard work and their form of compensation is also really important. Because if you have a CEO or CFO, Chief Financial Officer, any of these head people in the corporations that no matter what, just based on the stock price, they're getting millions of dollars each year, I don't invest in those corporations. I want to see that they aren't making these big bucks as a result of this, and they get shares as a result of their hard work and all. So they're really vested into those companies. A great technology company must have proprietary technology. That is so important, that they're constantly innovating and implementing and getting intellectual property rights to many of these technologies. But it can't be just one or two technologies. They have to be having their engineers and designers have developed a network of interrelating technologies that gives them that clear advantage over all of the rest. These companies need to have ultimately multiple forms of proprietary technologies in order to get a 10x growth potential. Timing is the question as well. So when are these companies developing, and where are they in the market? So are they a very small fish in a very big pond, like so many automotive manufacturers have completely gone bankrupt just trying to start off? Ford and Tesla are the last two in the last over 100 years that haven't gone bankrupt. So it's really important to realize the timing of the company and what are the competition that they're going up against. The monopoly question: does the company have a big share of a small market? That's really important. So, and I'll be using Tesla as an example for this in the future, but of the EV market, Tesla has the big share of the EV market. and how they went about it and all. Even though that market, the EV market, is a small share of a potentially great market, the internal combustion or ICE vehicles that are there now. So if you look at the number of battery electric vehicles out in the market right now, it's relatively small compared to the internal combustion engines. But those internal combustion engines run on dinosaur fuel, and that dinosaurs are gone, and this dinosaur fuel is going to decrease over time, and with climate change there's lots of pressures to get off of this fuel. So the battery electric vehicles, that although that's a small component of a very large potential market, Tesla has a very large share of that very small market. I hope that makes sense, so it doesn't seem to, it creates a monopoly. It's hard to beat a monopoly, and a monopoly isn't like the game that we think about, or the big corporations that need to be broken up. It's really having vertical integration. It's having multiple components and the ability to branch out into other areas. Like when we think about Amazon, we don't think of just a bookstore anymore. Amazon has grown to be cloud computing. They sell everything on Earth during a pandemic. It's one of the best ways of dealing with getting your materials to you as well. So it's a behemoth, and it is a monopoly because they have multiple different forms of revenue. And same thing, we don't think of Apple as just being earbuds. They do sell excellent earbuds, but that isn't what they do. They have a large market that they started off very, very small, created a captivating initial product, the iPod, then created a series of other products that were excellent, that meet the needs that people didn't even realize the needs that the people had. But enough with that. So that's the monopoly question. Now the people question. This one is probably the single most, well, not the single most, but it's a very, very important question. Does the company have the right team? Who are these key people? And that really requires a lot of research on your part, on our part, to go about and find out about all of these key people and what they've accomplished, how hard they work, everything about them, how they're compensated as well, and what their personal missions are, as well as the mission of the company, that company mission, the vision as well. But what is their mission statement? So that's important, the people question. Tech company leaders don't wear suits and ties. They wear t-shirts and jeans. I never, you know, when I look at CEOs and listen to what they have to say, and I pull up every video, because nowadays CEOs go on Yahoo, Bloomberg, all of these things, certainly do their review their videos that they've done for their investors, any presentations they did beforehand, before they started the company, really to try to get a feel for who these people actually are. Are they dynamic? Are they someone who has a clear vision, a mission, and an absolutely amazing work ethic? All of those things are really important. And then looking at the people that they're hiring. Are they skilled at surrounding themselves with the right people that can create the dynamic situation to create a monopoly inside of this situation? When I say the monopoly again, I'm talking about this growth potential to integrate all of these different technologies that will meet the needs to acquire all of the resources to create vertical integration, so that they aren't dependent on outside resources. So during this recent pandemic, the United States, you know, we're totally dependent on China for some supplies, other countries for other supplies as well. We need to, the best companies to invest in that are vertically integrated, they are creating all of those resources and responsible for those components themselves. So they're not reliant on others to meet their needs as well. The distribution question. Does the company have a way of creating and distributing these products effectively and efficiently? That is so important. Even if they can create a fantastic product, sometimes they haven't got a clear distribution system. Tesla doesn't have the same distribution system that we all have gone in the past to go buy a car. You had to go to a dealership. The salesperson had to go back and talk to their boss. There was some negotiation going on. It was a real headache, and you felt like you're about to get screwed going and buying a new car or a new vehicle and all. So the distribution system that that Tesla came up with is, well, you just go online, you order your car, it's that price, there's no negotiating, that's what it is and all. And I'll be talking about Tesla and our experiences just buying the Model Y recently. I'm thinking Thea this weekend will potentially, this coming weekend, we'll sit down and we'll be able to go over some of those, create a video on her experiences with her Model Y that she has now, as well as some homesteading topics as well, not to get off topic here. So, it's so important that the company have a product that's marketable, where there's a demand for that product, and that there's an adequate distribution system in place that the company has already set up so that those products can get to the people without a bunch of headaches and hooplas and all. Then the durability questions. So will the company market position be defensible? Have they got a moat? Have they created a moat that's defensible for at least 10, 20 years from now? I'm always looking for a moat that's at least 20 years, preferably 30 and 40 years. So what do I think about that moat? In other words, all that vertical integration. Vertical integration meaning that they're creating many of the components that are necessary to make that end product. They've created a distribution system where they can get that product to the people. If it's, and certainly software as a service, like right now, streaming media is a big deal, game playing streaming is a big deal. So software as a service is a very important component. We'll be talking about some of these services as they relate to the companies that I'm invested in. So this moat is so important. The other thing about creating a moat is that you have a superior product to anyone else out there. So it's just absolutely clear. Once the people are exposed to the product, it's intuitive, it's enlightening, it's pleasurable, it's fulfilling, and the people can't see themselves ever not going without that product in the future. So, and that has to do with the brand as well. And so, do they have good brand clarity for that impenetrable and that defensible moat that they build around their corporation as well? Then the secret question, the seventh and final question that Peter Thiel talks about. Has the company identified unique opportunities that others don't see? Certainly like Apple, when they came up with their product, no one foresaw that. People thought, oh, it's a smartphone. I remember with Microsoft coming up with their phone and talking about it and saying, that Apple phone, big deal and all this. But Apple had software as a service as a big gun. And they had other big guns as well. But the software as a service, no one saw that coming. So the Google software store, there's a lot of market revenue. There's a large margin on the software as a service. So that really sealed, answered the secret question: do they have something that others aren't seeing? With SpaceX, when we look at the reusability, which drastically cuts down the cost of the space shuttles and all of the other the lunar missions we had, all of those things, and all of Russia's spacecraft that were used, with the reusability of rockets and them coming back and landing on the pads. Well, that was another clear advantage, and Tesla has the same thing as well. So, are there opportunities that you can see as an investor before everybody else finds out about it? That's important as well. So again, the 7 questions in summary are the design and engineering. That's important. The timing. Do they have the right timing? Are they able to create a monopoly? Do they have the right people that are there? The people question. How about that distribution? question, and the durability. Do they have something that's going to be a market leader, that's going to be at least 10 years, probably 20 years, and potentially 30 years in the future as well? And do they have that, the distribution, the durability, and that secret question? Do they have that secret sauce that others aren't able to see as well? So Peter Thiel's book is really good, 0 to 1. Again, I'll put a link to it in the description below. I think it's a great one. One of the things I'll do is I'll talk about some of the components that I see in Tesla with respect to these 7 questions. So there are many, many amazing facets that how Tesla actually meets these, answers these questions, and made it a clear winner for me, and that's why that's such a large component of my investment portfolio. And again, I do have a diversified portfolio, but my diversification isn't financially. My diversification is social capital, intellectual capital, experiential capital, living capital, cultural capital, spiritual capital, physical capital, health, all of those things. So I invest in all of these other areas, and I have a strong work ethic and a strong commitment to each one of these components of my investment portfolio. In my financial portfolio, I don't distribute that. I don't have a distributed, well-balanced portfolio. I'm concentrating on getting those winning companies, and I invest in the company. And no matter what the market does, because of something that happens politically, a war, a pandemic, whatever it is, I'm going to sit there because I have confidence that that company is going to go through all these ways, and I check with myself, have the emotions under control, so I don't feel like, oh my God, I need to sell this because the market's going to drop and drop and drop, and that way I could sell it before it drops all the way down and then buy back in before the market starts growing up. That's a recipe for disappointment and stress as far as I'm concerned. So I'm going to end this video right about here. If you found this video of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Please feel free to leave your investment thoughts and feelings down below. I think that's really, really valuable for others to hear what you think. Not everybody should invest in the way that I'm doing. It requires due diligence. It really requires a focus and a commitment to doing the research. Again, the main reason I'm creating these videos on this channel are for my family and friends that have seen things that we've done here that have been successful, and so that they at least know our approaches, and so I'm not repeating these same things over and over again to multiple people. Well, thanks so much for watching, folks, and have a super fantastic and safe day. Bye-bye now.